Town manager page, ready to begin? Okay. Good evening. I call this July 11th meeting of the Morrisville Town Council to order. Thank you to those watching via live stream and those who are watching a recording of this meeting. On July 13th, a video of this meeting will be uploaded to www.townofmorrisville.org/government/live-video. At this time, I'd like to recognize our Sergeant at Arms. Master Officer Hogan has served as a police officer for 5 years and is currently a patrol officer assigned to Uniform Patrol. We really appreciate her being with us this evening. Thank you. I will be delivering tonight's invocation. Tonight, we come together as a community with a shared goal of making Morrisville a better place to live, learn, work, and raise a family. I believe that the strength of our community comes from our diversity of thought and experience. We are all different, but we are all neighbors. We are all committed to making our town a better place. As we begin this meeting, I would like to take a moment to reflect on the values that we share as a community: dedication, integrity, courtesy, and innovation. We believe in the importance of public service, cooperation, and collaboration. We believe in the power of hope and the promise of a bright future. I know that we can achieve great things together. Tonight and every day, let's work together to make Morrisville a better place for all. Thank you. If you are able, please stand and join us as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry, it seemed like there was a little extra pause before we started. I heard a lot of the seats going up, so I didn't want to miss anybody. Before we adopt tonight's agenda, Town Council policy is to review and ensure there are no conflicts of interest or appearance of conflict of interest with any items on the agenda. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share at this time? Okay. I entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda. Motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously 7-0. At this time, I'd like to recognize Town Manager Martha Page.
Thank you, Mayor. A little bit unusual, but we do have an employee that council has worked with tirelessly over the last year who is leaving us. We've talked often about the fact that we try to give our employees opportunities to learn and grow, and sometimes that means they can go back to other places to continue their growth. So I would like to recognize and thank Michael James, who was hired a couple years ago as our fiscal recovery officer, led us through ARPA, and has made us a stronger organization financially and budgetarily. So I just would like to recognize him and thank him for his service. Michael, we wish you best. We will miss you. He is still working on behalf of Morrisville in Wake County, so we will see and hear from him. Did you want to say any final parting words or just wave at us?
Yeah.
I'll just say from back here, thank you for the opportunity to serve you all, to serve in Morrisville. It's been a pleasure working with you all. Lots of exciting things happening in Morrisville, and I just look forward to continuing to serve Morrisville in a slightly different capacity. And I will definitely be keeping tabs on all the exciting things that are happening. So thank you. It's been wonderful to work with you. And thank you, Martha. Appreciate that.
We thank you as well. Thank you, Town Manager Page. There is one item on this evening's consent agenda, a capital project ordinance amendment authorizing the closing of Crabtree-Hatcher Creek Greenway project. Does anyone want to pull that for discussion before adoption? I'd entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously 7-0. We are now at presentations. We have two presentations this evening: Teen Morrisville 101 graduate recognition and a Campo call for Spot 7 bicycle and pedestrian. Will Glenn, Communications and Outreach Director, will make the first presentation. Good evening.
All right, can you hear me now?
Very much.
I think so. Sorry. Will Glenn, Communications and Outreach Director. I have the honor this evening of recognizing our Teen Morrisville 101 graduates We had 14 young folks this year to take our course, and I see a lot of them here this evening. I'm going to ask them if they could please stand line up to my right here. I'm going to call every name of those who wasn't in class this year, though. For those who don't know, this is a 4-week course. We meet every Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Everything from testing water out in the creek out here to hands-on experience with fire and police as well. Also had a course of sustainability and also with Ms. Kimberly Conley here and stormwater. So very hands-on class. They also met every department head or representative this year as well. So if I can have my students please stand up and line up here to the left. I'm gonna call your names out one by one. You're gonna get a certificate and go to the stage, please, and we'll have a picture with council following this. All right, Sarihitha Dandu. Miss Claire Dosa. I think Claire's here. You can go on stage, please, Sarita. Gianna Gupta. Maximus Kocharenko. I don't see Max. Lindsay Lee. Gotham Muthu, sorry. Prithu Niag. Dia Nalekar. Ashvi Patel. Vihan Senthil. Sarahi Shroff. Ishanya Thanuj. Marley Tasilio. And Parva Vihas. I want to ask our parents to stand as well at this time. You're a big part of getting our students here and picking them up on time. We appreciate that. Let's give them a big round of applause. So I want to ask our council if you can come down. Students, step down to the lower level, please, so we can get a photo with council. If you can just fill in behind them, council, please. Let the parents go ahead, yeah. All right, another big hand for our students. Team of the 101. Thank you.
As always, you guys are welcome to stay, but that's not a requirement. We appreciate all the hard work you've done over the last few months. At this time, Danielle Kittredge, Principal Planner, will make the next presentation.
All right, good evening. I didn't think I'd be back so quick from the last time that I gave a presentation on NCDOT updates, but shortly after my last presentation, early last month, there was a call for projects for Campo, bicycle and pedestrian projects for the Spot 7 process, which is the prioritization cycle for the 2026 to 2035 STIP. So there's a call for projects and only MPOs and NCDOT division engineers can submit projects. So Campo is going out with a call for projects that we can submit. They're due by July 28th, and there's a very short turnaround review process prioritization that they will do. It will go to the technical coordinating committee at Campo, the executive board, public comment, all with the goal of getting their projects submitted by September 30th to NCDOT. Campo is limited to 46 projects, which is why they do go through a prioritization exercise. Beyond that, NCDOT will do their own scoring and prioritization, and sometime in 2024, the results of that will be known. In terms of project submittals, projects do need to be greater than $100,000, and there's a 20% local match. And so what I wanted to review here is they're in the Spot 6, which was in 2019. Seems like a while ago, but that was the last call for projects. The town submitted Sawmill Creek Greenway, as well as on-street bicycle lanes for Morrisville Parkway. Spot 6 was ultimately canceled when no additional projects were being cycled into the most recent STIP. So we're now at Spot 7, and projects are being allowed to be submitted for consideration. So staff is recommending rolling over the Sawmill Creek Greenway project. We're anticipating maybe around $2 million, and the match should be around $400,000. Staff is not recommending rolling over the on-street bike lanes for Morrisville Parkway at this point in time. We do have the Morrisville Parkway Access Management Study that is going to hopefully kick off this month, and that way we'll have more of a comprehensive understanding of not just safety, but a variety of multimodal and best way to address some of that there. So we are not recommending rolling that one over. Instead, we are looking at Stirrup Iron Creek Greenway and Mill Spring Greenway as the combined project together. I'll cover this on another slide, but just as a reminder, we did receive from NCDOT Greenway feasibility study money for these two greenways, which is kicking off this month and will last a year long. Because of some of the cycles of when projects can be submitted, we did think that it was a good idea to get this project submitted in this cycle, and that way, otherwise you're kind of 2 to 4 years out before you can submit a project again. So staff is recommending this one as another project for submittal. It is likely around the $3.4 million range, so about $680,000 as a match. We'll know more once the Greenway feasibility study is done in terms of better estimate on that cost. And so I did want to just touch base on both of these greenways to make sure with the familiarity of these. And so with the Sawmill Creek Greenway, it's kind of around Page Street up to McCrimmon Parkway. It is in the town's comprehensive transportation plan, just under 2 miles. There's about 51% of the greenway easements acquired and 13% constructed. So that does have an ultimate impact on total cost for the project. With the Stirrup Iron Creek and Mill Springs Greenway, this is much longer, a little over 3 miles. Sort of the U-shaped portion of it around the water body near the top of the screen is the Mill Springs Greenway, and then the rest of it is Stirrup Iron Creek. And there's about 20% of the greenway easements acquired for this particular alignment. None has been constructed yet. There's a few that we might see as some new development comes in. And then as previously mentioned, there is a feasibility study going on for this project. It'll refine some of those cost estimates, but due to the various cycles of submittals, felt that it was a good timing to submit it. We are allowed to submit conceptual projects into the process for Campo. In terms of future budget impacts, the Spot 7 is looking at funding projects in 2026 and after. And like I mentioned, we're anticipating maybe another call for projects in 2 years. It could be as much as 4 years. And then submitting projects for funding consideration, it provides an opportunity to leverage funding from other sources for town projects. And it's important to note that neither of these greenway projects are included in the town's current 5-year capital investment program. So if funding is awarded for these projects, an appropriation of the town's matching funds can be built into future programming. So there's not a need to set aside funds right now. We don't know how the projects are going to score, where they'll sort of land, and if they do get funding, how far out that funding will be. So this is not an ask for, appropriations at this point in time, but there is a funding commitment letter that does get submitted with the application to say we would provide that 20% match if the project is funded. So staff is asking for town council support to submit the 2 greenway projects mentioned, Sawmill Creek Greenway and the combined Stirrup Iron Creek and Mill Spring Greenway for the call for projects. If there is support to do that, staff would fill out the project data that's required for it, and then also the commitment match letter that would go along with the submittal. So with that, I'd ask if there's any questions.
Okay, so to clarify, you're not looking for a vote tonight, but consensus that we want you to do the work to bring back on the 27th or the 25th.
So what we would do is just, this is what staff is proposing to do. We are not going to come back with a resolution. We can come back with a resolution of support, but all that's needed for the application is, and in previous spots, it's a letter submitted by the town manager that says, yes, we would commit to the 20% match. So really just consensus that, yes, we're okay moving this direction. If there's concern and we want to bring it back for something else, we can do that as well.
Okay, so ideally, does anyone have any questions first before we make the ask? Okay, really good presentation. There's a lot of complication and you made it really straightforward. Really appreciate it. Is it council consensus to go ahead and give direction that the town manager can write that letter and submit on our behalf?
Yes.
I'm seeing head nods across the way, so
Yes.
that's a yes.
All right.
You have the consensus. Is there anything else you need from us?
I do not.
Okay.
Just make sure you have that update and appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate you. Thank you very much. At this time, we're at item 10, public address. Town Clerk Smith will present any public comments received and acknowledge anyone in the room who signed up.
There were no public comments received via email, and no individual signed up to give in-person public comment.
Okay, is there anyone here in the room tonight who would like to speak for 3 minutes on any subject of their choosing? Okay, if you'd like to approach the microphone, please, your name and your residential address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. And Town Clerk Smith, will it ding after 3 minutes or not? Okay, so if it gets to 3 minutes, if it gets down to 0, I'll ask you to go ahead and finish that last thought. Okay? The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. My name is Subba Reddy from Wexford Community, Morrisville. I've been living here almost 9 years. So my question is today, I've been basing with a couple of the families' kids who have completed their first year or second year in the UNC Chapel Hill or around NC State. So they're wondering they couldn't get enough internships within the town. So they went to apply for the Chapel Hill area for the public administrations, the stuff. So I did ask my daughter, did you try with Morrisville? No, I couldn't find that public administration kind of a internship in the Morrisville area. So I tried for the Chapel Hill, but she didn't get selected though. But it would be nice if the town provides such kind of a programs for the internship for the families. We all will, as a parents, will appreciate the town. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the room who'd like to speak on any subject? Okay, we'll move on to our next item, which is public hearings. There's one public hearing on this evening's agenda, a proposed UDO text amendment for EV parking. Elliot Ward, Planning Manager, will brief council on the item prior to the public hearing. Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Mayor Cawley. Good evening, council.
Evening.
Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
As the mayor just mentioned, I'll be presenting item 2023-217-0, proposed UDO text amendments related to EV charging. Just a little background, as you all may recall, at the August 8th, 2022 work session, Town Council promoted EV parking regulations from a medium priority to a top 5 priority in the CTP action items prioritization list. This promotion was confirmed at the September 27th, 2022 work session. The proposed amendments align with goals and initiatives in the Master Sustainability Plan, specifically to integrate EVs into the town's fleet vehicles and improve future EV charging infrastructure in the town. Planning staff did work closely with Sustainability Coordinator Kimberly Connolly while researching and drafting the proposed amendments. And I'm hoping if there's any technical questions that I can't answer, hopefully she can help me out. As far as the changes proposed under section 4.3 in table 4.3.4, accessory uses and structures, staff proposes removing the charging level separate uses and permitting all stations under this electric vehicle charging station use and permitting it in all zoning districts. Staff also proposes removing the charging level specific language that is currently in sections 4.3.5B, 10, and 11, and replacing with the more straightforward language shown here, except in these residential uses, EV charging station spaces shall be reserved for the charging of electric vehicles only. Such reserved spaces shall be posted with signage identifying the spaces as reserved only for the charging of electric vehicles. There are additional requirements are provided in section 510.3F, and we will cover those additional requirements here in a bit. Under section 5.10, parking and loading, staff proposes removing the existing language in section 510.3F. This language was adopted in 2013, and it placed a maximum allowable number of EV spaces at 10% of the required parking. Now this seems counterintuitive to the council encouragement of additional EV spaces. This would also remove language requiring that EV spaces be contiguous on a site. Requiring that all EV spaces be in one area could be inconvenient for larger sites, multifamily, so forth. Staff proposes replacing the existing language with new language in tables. For clarification purposes, we provided definitions for EV ready and EVSE installed. EVSE installed are spaces that are fully connected to a charging unit or station and reserved for electric vehicles. EV ready is preparing for future EVSE installation, potentially, by providing electric vehicle capacity, typically to a 240 volt outlet. EV ready is useful as the space is hardwired and usually electrical panel installed for future EVSE installation. Here are some visual examples of the EV ready and EVSE installed, as well as the different charging levels. You may notice here in the top graphic, there's also EV capable included. So the difference between EV capable and EV ready, EV capable also has hardwiring installed. However, there is no panel or outlet, so someone cannot drive up with their car and plug in if they have their own plug, so forth. Whereas EV ready, there is a plug, and they can go ahead and plug without a dedicated station. Staff did not include EV capable in the provided definitions. We felt that this did not really meet council's goals of promoting additional EV spaces, and so we chose just to include the EV ready and EVSE installed. As you see here, here are examples of the levels. Level 1 is typically 120 volts, and this is what you would see at a single family home. Level 2 is usually 240 volts and charges about 10 to 30 miles per hour. This is the most common charging stations that we see at the moment. Level 2s are the stations that the town are currently installing at our facilities. Level 3 or DC chargers are the fastest charging stations. These typically are 400 to 800 volts. They will charge about 150 to 350 miles in an hour. Tesla superchargers are a good example of these. The level 3s, they do charge considerably faster. However, we did want to note the cost to install them is significantly higher, and there is a much greater power usage with level 3 chargers. Planning staff met with representatives of Duke Energy, and we were informed that a single level 3 charger can at times use the same energy as a small hotel. During our research phase, staff also did send the proposed amendments to members of Duke Energy to review They passed it around internally. They did not have any issues with proposed language or any recommended changes. Staff also at the time notified the development community, let them know that they could provide comments this evening or before the meeting if they desired. For the EV parking space minimums, staff proposes this table, 5103F2. The numbers and language came from research into various local communities as well as larger municipalities outside the state. Some of these include Holly Springs, Apex. We also looked at Atlanta, Orlando, Denver, among several others. Staff chose not to include single family, as I'll touch on a bit later, but we did include visitor accommodation and multifamily dwellings, distinguishing by number of rooms or units. Less than 20 units would require at least one EV-ready space. 20 or more units would require 5% of required spaces to be EV-SE installed, an additional 15% be at least EV-ready. We included the language "at least" because we want to encourage more EV-SE installed if they so desire, but they should at least install 15% EV-ready. For all other uses, the requirement will depend on the number of spaces the development provides. We avoided less than 20 as those are typically small stores, offices, and requiring spaces to be taken up by EV could become a burden. From 20 to 49 parking spaces, 10% of those must be at least EV-ready. 50 or more spaces, which are typically your larger developments, again, 5% EV-SE and an additional 15% at least EV-ready. Staff also included language for accessible spaces. The spaces need to have ease of access to the EV equipment and should be striped in accordance with building code. However, these spaces do not need to be marked exclusively for ADA. This will allow individuals both with or without accessibility needs the ability to charge at these spaces. If the development is providing 1 to 25 EV spaces, at least one should be accessible. 26 to 50 or more EV spaces, which would be your much larger developments, at least 2 should be accessible. Staff also proposes, as I mentioned earlier, several additional requirements. Marked EV spaces should be exclusive for EVs except for the 1 and 2 family uses mentioned in 4.3.5B10A. All EV-SE parking space signage and parking pavement markings should be installed in accordance with standards in the Federal Highway Administration Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. EV charging equipment must not interfere with pedestrian walkways and sidewalks. For new site plans, landscaping should be considered, should be coordinated with EV current and future installation to avoid issues during construction or down the line. EV spaces should be spread out to be convenient for multiple people or tenants in the building, as we talked about earlier. The town will not restrict whether a private property owner wishes to charge a service fee for their EV chargers, and the planning director can waive or modify the EV requirement due to issues with power supply or the utility system. However, issues with cost is not a valid reason to approve the waiver. Staff recommendation, staff obviously recommends approval of the proposed UDO text amendments. PZB recommendation, at the June 8th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Board meeting, the PZB recommended approval of the proposed amendments by a vote of 4-0. At this meeting, the PZB also asked why staff had not included single-family detached and attached dwellings into the required parking standards. Planning staff chose not to include these uses due to a proposed bill being considered by the General Assembly that would modify the building code to require the provision of EV charging for electric vehicles in all new single and 2-family dwellings. This is House Bill 318. Staff believes it's best to allow this issue to play out in the General Assembly as a potential building code change. Requiring EV charging in garage spaces could also create a potential conflict with UDO Section 5103H, which does not allow garage spaces to count toward required parking. This standard was put in place to address on-street parking issues experienced by the town in several neighborhoods. And as far as potential options, as council knows, approve the text amendments, approve the amendments with changes, or deny the amendments. This is the ordinance language. Council's asked to hold a public hearing tonight, and action is currently slated for the next meeting on July 25th. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I'd like to recognize Councilmember Garamella, please.
Thank you. Okay. My question is more regarding level 3. Can you go back to the slide where level 3 is? Okay. When you say fleet, public, multi-unit, residential, can it not be used for like clubhouse, like what we're looking to put? Then where does that come under?
Yeah, and I mean, and these are just a few examples on the right side, obviously.
Okay, so it's not, how do you then, when it goes into UDO, like if I look at this chart, like, level 3s are not used in subdivisions, technically, you're saying, right?
Right. So that's another reason. It's a good question. That's another reason why we eliminated the level language entirely.
Okay.
Housed everything under the electric vehicle charging stations. So there is no confusion. There's no limits on developers. What they want to install, they can install, whether it's level 2 or there's level 3. So.
Okay. And now more of a practical issue. How do we know, like, usually people leave this. I have an EV, like people charge and leave it overnight at public EV stations. How can we enforce that it's only 3 hours? Or because that's what Durham, at my work, they say maximum of only 3 hours allowed to a charge point, like that's what, and it shuts off. If not, it will start charging more. Is there any recommendations as to ensure like it is equitable, that it's distributed, not someone like who wants to just leave it overnight, just getting charged?
Yeah, we heard something similar from Planning and Zoning Board. They had concerns about that as well. I don't know if Sustainability Coordinator Conley wants to address our facilities. Obviously, we don't want to put limits on private developers and what they put on their signage as far as how long someone can stay and they can't. But for town facilities, I don't know, are we adding anything to the signage currently?
Good evening, Council, Mayor. We are considering something for our own chargers, some limitations for our own chargers presently. And that really is, we don't want to take away, we want to encourage EVs as much as possible, right? But the problem that we're seeing is that when folks stay in spots all night, they may not be making those spots available for others that may need access to them. But I agree with what Elliot is saying. I don't think that we are in a position to put any additional parameters on what private entities do with their chargers. Now, I will say, if they put in smart chargers like we do, we have charge point chargers. It is extremely easy to create. You can shut the chargers off after so many hours. You can charge it what we call as a dwell fee. So that means if you're still kind of sitting there, but you're not charging anymore, but you're still just taking up the spot, you can charge for those types of things as well. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, exactly. So are we not enforcing that? Because that would be the way to go. You're encouraging people to use EV. At the same time, it's not a free. And I think we should use that kind of technique so that it will discourage people to just keep it overnight, but at the same time give equal opportunity for others to come and charge. And from town point of view, yes, it is. I don't think giving it free is, an intent is good, but we are seeing people are leaving it overnight, and there's no way of pulling them out. So I think charge point, that concept would be perfect. Or use charge point. That's what we use at the Durham ATC. Like you keep it more, they'll start charging you more.
Exactly. I mean, we could also include something to encourage folks to, institute or incorporate dwell fees or parameters where they shut the chargers off and then, put that on signage. But that's really, that's for private development.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Rabati, please.
I'm just realizing that I may not understand at all how these things work. So do you have to swipe a card or something, or is it like getting gas when you pull up to a charger and that's on like our site or a corporate site?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Well, so the follow-up question, I'm asking that because, so what's the, if a person stays more than their allotted time and, we charge them for that, or we charge them for that, or the entity charges them for that, what exactly what's the mechanism by which they're charged if we don't have their card information?
So just for clarification, are you referring to town-owned chargers or are you referring to privately owned chargers?
I guess I'm referring to any charger that's going to try to charge, any charger where the owning entity is going to try to charge people that stay in the space too long after they've been charging.
So if they're planning to charge, then they will typically have what we call a smart charger that will have the ability to track their time, to charge them accordingly based on whatever that private development deems as a fair KWH charge, or some of our, we see sometimes they charge a per hour fee. So really that's up to the private development to make those
So in that
decisions.
case, there would be some kind of payment for, maybe not
Yes.
payment to use the charger, but you'd have to provide a payment method so that if you overstayed your welcome there,
That's
they'd
right.
be able to charge you. Okay, we're
That's
not
right.
doing that, or we are?
We are not
Okay.
doing that right now, no.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that staff will operate and manage them as required as we go forward. If there's no more questions right now, this is my feedback whenever I turn this
Yeah.
on, so I'm not sure how to fix it.
Can you put that farther away?
From here? I
Oh.
mean, it's right here. So hopefully that goes away. Thank you. So at this time, unless staff has anything else, I'll open the public hearing. So I declare the public hearing open. Oh, sorry. Councilmember
I had
Fender.
a couple questions. So, in the
Thank you.
proposed UDO changes, how do our requirements compare to like Cary, Holly Springs, Apex? Are they on par, more or less?
Yeah. So for the most part, with Holly Springs and Apex specifically, pretty on par. The language is all slightly different in all jurisdictions. So it's hard to do a one-to-one comparison, but like I said, we looked extensively at surrounding communities. We looked at stuff outside of the state, as I mentioned, but mostly we focused on local jurisdictions. Holly Springs and Apex had extensive language written in, and so we kind of emulated what we found from them as well.
Have you thought about requiring additional EV charging at hotels? Because people would be there overnight, people would be staying there traveling.
So I guess what you're asking is use specific numbers instead of just across the board, commercial or non-residential.
Possibly,
Yeah.
yeah. Was that a consideration?
Not really, and we just looking at during the research didn't really see a lot of use specific stuff. It's definitely something staff could look into. And you're thinking about hotels specifically or any other uses?
Yeah, hotels or motels, because people are, especially the ones that we have that are right off I-40 on Airport Boulevard, for example. Those are people that are traveling and potentially staying overnight.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely look into that. I think right now we're just kind of emulating our current UDO, which is just percentage. So there is a number required for a hotel motel.
Mm-hmm.
And so the percentage would be across the board, but it would vary based on use. But yeah,
Okay.
I can look into that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Rao, please.
I was just curious if there's been no public comments submitted on this as of now? Because I've had a few interactions with some associations who said they sent comments in, but
When I open the public hearing, I think there might be some
okay.
that we
All right, okay.
hear from.
Yeah.
I just want to get those.
Okay, I would just say, that I'm glad that we're putting in a minimum and then a minimum of EV ready. And I think the market will maybe address the hotel and motel a little bit. So I'm not sure if that's our role to make them do more, but hopefully they will. And everyone's had a chance to come. Oh, go ahead.
May I make a comment to that?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So hotels, particularly, it would be in their best interest for folks to charge at night because it's less expensive. So hopefully they would promote that rather than them charging during the day or during peak periods. And obviously there's less GHG emissions if they're charging at night as well. So.
Okay. Yeah, we can lead them to water, but we can't make them install more chargers. Everyone's had a chance. But you can. We can if we choose to. So that's something that staff will look at.
This is for new development, not existing development. There's a distinction here, too.
Yeah, well, existing development, if they do a minor modification, come in, change, if they're changing something that affects parking, then they would be affected by these standards. Otherwise, it's strictly, new construction.
Okay. Makes sense. Everyone's had a chance to comment, and we'll do a second round now. Councilmember Garamella?
Yeah, I think that I like the concept that we are kind of putting a UDO language and enforcing the EV stations, but also where I fail to understand why are we not going a step more in, like, I just bought a EV SUV. You have ChargePoint, you have PlugShare, you have Electrify America, that are apps that basically if I want to charge, it will show me all the locations around where I can go charge it. If I'm at a place where I'm not local to here, I will basically use that, one of the three apps, to see where's my, the closest location. It is smart. Because if a charging station is there, like these two, how would people in the community know that they are available? And it will show when it is available or when it is plugged in by someone, so that people can exactly go there and do it, not always circle around, oh, this car is parked and it's sitting there for 10 hours. So how are we as part of the bigger grid to help the people of the community as a whole? Because if you have two charging stations here, if I want to charge, this one from sitting from home, how would I know they are available or not? I don't want to make trips just to figure out those things. So that's the whole reason of these three apps, which are part of the consolidated grid. I think ChargePoint, they basically go anywhere where Walmart's or Home Depot or Lowe's. They have superchargers. Another one did with Target, wherever the Targets are, they have this. And so my neighbor in Willingham, he basically, you can sign up. Even individual EV stations can sign up as a charge point. So it will show that they can come, they can plug it in, and it is available. So to make this more, I think you need to go a step higher and allow that. Otherwise, it's just a static EV would not help anyone.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'm looking at our principal planner, Kittredge, because she also assisted a lot in the research and development of the language. We've had initial talks. We've been really focused on the language first, the UDO amendments, but there has been initial talks about potential mapping of stations around town, and kind of somehow how can we integrate that with our push for EV infrastructure. So yeah, it's definitely a good point, something we can think about moving forward.
So we're not already on those networks, like plug-in NC or stuff? Our chargers are not, they're not showing on that right now?
So they should be, PlugShare, and it would also behoove the hotels and the other entities to sign up with those apps as well, because they want to use this as a value add, right? It's an additional amenity that they can offer travelers. So typically when you activate a charger, you would go ahead and reach out and make sure that your charger is easily identifiable, not just with your charge point, if it's a charge point charger, but across the board. And there are a couple of different ways that you can do that.
Okay, so it sounds like there might be interest for us to make sure that we're on those apps for our chargers. Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Garamella. Okay, seeing no other comments, I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Town Clerk Smith, is there anything submitted or anyone signed up today to speak?
Yes, sir, Mayor Cawley. There were no individuals signed up to give in-person public hearing comment, but one public hearing comment was submitted via email. This comment is from Dustin Inglekin, 7920 ACC Boulevard, Suite 220, Raleigh, North Carolina, Government Affairs Director, Triangle Apartment Association. My name is Dustin Ingleton, and I serve as the Government Affairs Director at the Triangle Apartment Association, a membership trade organization representing builders, owners, operators of apartment homes across the Triangle, as well as many of the businesses who provide goods and services to these communities. Our membership includes nearly 1,200 member businesses, and our members own and operate approximately 170,000 units across the Triangle, including approximately 8,000 units in Morrisville. Over the last few weeks, we have been watching with some concern as the proposed UDO amendments for EV parking has quickly moved through the review process and on to tonight's public hearing. I want to stress that our membership does not oppose of the concept of an EV mandate, and in fact, many new apartment communities already feature EV charging stations. However, I want to make sure that Council understands the economics of EV charging and the impact that this proposal will have on housing affordability. As it stands today, building a new EV charging station can cost between $25,000 and $50,000 per station, and building an EV-ready parking space can cost between $10,000 and $15,000 per parking space. The UDO text amendment before you tonight would require 5% of all new parking at multifamily developments to include an EV charging station and an additional 15% to be EV ready. A typical apartment community could include 400 parking spaces under the current code, which means a developer could be required to include 20 charging stations and another 60 EV ready spaces. Under the most conservative numbers outlined above, the mandate would add $1.1 million to the cost of a typical apartment project. Unfortunately, the cost of the mandate will inevitably fall on the renter in the form of higher rent, contributing further to the high cost of housing in Morrisville. Given the significant impact on the cost of development and future affordability, we encourage the Town Council to slow down and consider making a few revisions that we feel will allow the town to meet its goals without creating an undue burden on developers looking to provide affordable housing options in the town. Specifically, we would ask for consideration of the following revisions. 1, create an exemption for subsidized affordable housing. Affordable housing development is already extremely difficult and requires significant public investment. The town of Morrisville should not make it any more difficult or expensive by imposing an expensive EV mandate on these projects. 2, create a financial hardship exemption for market rate housing. The UDO text amendment currently explicitly denies developers the ability to claim a financial hardship to avoid the mandate. The town should consider developing an exemption for cases where the mandate makes housing development impossible. The town needs more housing, both market rate and affordable, and it would be a shame if this mandate killed much-needed projects that would have otherwise been viable without the new requirement. 3, provide direct financial support to offset the cost of compliance. The town should consider the creation of a grant program to help subsidize the cost of compliance with the new requirements. Thank you for your consideration of these revisions. I would welcome the opportunity to meet and further discuss the issues outlined here should the Town Council choose to deliberate further on the proposed text amendment.
Is there anything else submitted virtually?
No, sir.
Okay, is there anyone here in the room who would like to speak as a public hearing comment on this item? Okay, I'll open to discussion now. Councilmember Rabati?
I would be fascinated by an independently conducted ROI study on the cost of building apartments versus renting apartments in Morrisville. And I mean, it may be true, but I have a tough time believing that the cost of, I'm all the way on board with an exemption for affordable housing, but I do not. I would have to see some numbers on the economics of, we would have to raise rents because it would be so expensive to put these stations in. I just don't believe it. Apartments in Morrisville are so expensive now, and I just can't understand the argument that this is going to be so onerous a request that it would need to drive apartment prices up even more. I'd have to see the numbers there.
Okay. Yeah, given what we just heard, I think the numbers would be driven up some, but I don't think that it's really going to be an issue. They pass along, they make their profits, and there's only a few more developments that are going to be coming for apartments. And as was noted, unless they're doing modifications to existing, it's not going to really affect the 8,000 units that are already here in any significant way. But it looks like Sustainability Director Conley has a comment.
If I could, thank you. So we looked at the cost of doing an EV-ready spot is about $1,300. This came from the Raleigh EV Playbook, which was published last year. And the cost to install EV, so you're actually installing the charger, is about $15,000 to $18,000. Now that's for a smart charger like we have in the town. So to look at those numbers that were provided by the public comment, it would be about half of what they recommended that the cost would be. So it would be about $450,000 for those 400 spots in those needs. That's for 20 chargers and 60 EV-ready spots.
Would you mind passing along the contact information of whoever we're using to those people? Thank you.
Sure, certainly.
Okay. If it's the will of the council, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
A motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none. The public hearing is now closed. As was mentioned, we're looking to take action on this on the 25th. Does anyone have any questions or directions for staff? I guess most pointedly in regards to their considerations that they asked for. Okay, hearing none. Staff, do you have anything to add before the 25th?
That's all I have. Thank you.
I'm sorry, maybe
Yeah,
I do
please.
have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I might have lost it there. Did we agree that there would be some type of language relating to affordable housing units, or being exempt from the requirements, or was that not recommended for some reason?
Well, we didn't discuss that. So if you want to have us consider that, that's our
Okay.
decision.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't get there quick enough. So
Okay.
I would like to consider that, actually.
Okay. Anyone else have any other comments on that? I personally don't think that any of these apartments that are coming down the pipe are going to be affordable. But that doesn't mean that we can't leave the option open to reduce some of these costs for them, for those that might be, in our opinion, affordable. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, followed by Councilmember Rao.
So Elliot, did you give that any thought? Because I kind of agree. I'm not sure I agree with Councilmember Abadi. I think that could be an exemption for an affordable housing units or development. But can't we deal with that at the time when that comes in? Won't we have the opportunity? Anyhow, have you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I didn't receive the comment till late, but I did have a little bit of time. So I haven't had planning director Stiegel's out of town. I haven't had time to discuss with other planning staff, is my point. But I did have a little bit of time to talk about it or think about it. One thought I have that council might want to consider. I hesitate to use the word holding council hostage, but if we are encouraging affordable housing and we're encouraging EV, to me the language almost reads that if you want us to do one, then you can't make us do the other. And so I think coming from a staff standpoint, planning staff standpoint, I think you're right. Considering that at rezoning or case by case might make more sense than actually putting language into the UDO. Again, haven't had discussions with our director or town management, but that was just my initial impression when I was reading that public comment.
Because I think sometimes when we, with all good intentions, want to help, yeah, I think Danielle has some comments, but we have all good intentions to help, and yet when we put it directly into the code, we kind of mucky things up along the way. So I want to make sure that we're handling this as thoughtfully and appropriately as we can so that we understand the consequences, you know, the good and the bad. So go ahead, Danielle.
Yes, sorry, Danielle Kittredge. I didn't want to jump in here, but we do have coming back to Town Council at the next meeting a work session on affordable housing. So one of the items will be some of that policy in terms of UDO incentive policy that we had previously talked about. So this may be something that we want to talk a little bit more about during that work session as well, to whether or not that's one of those items that we're interested in terms of instead of specifically writing something into the UDO. So I just wanted to bring that up as well to mention. That'll be back in 2 more weeks, and if it's a topic you want to talk about with that policy.
Okay. Anything else, Mayor Pro Tem? Councilmember Rao, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I mean, just as a follow-up to Councilmember Ramadi's point, I think like this afternoon, morning, some of us were at the city, county, and Raleigh update, and there's been, Wake County's updating a lot of people on everything going on. I know we got a workshop tomorrow on affordable housing, but I'm just curious as to how these other local governments are dealing with, there's been a lot of units dedicated already for affordable housing. How are they dealing with the EV chargers? That would be an interesting point as we deliberate over this matter.
Specifically in relation to affordable housing?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely look into that for you for next meeting.
Councilmember Garamella, please.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Liz is saying. I don't want to use the word discounts or kind of things, but that should be a separate, but attached to affordable housing. And just before I was coming in, I was talking to a colleague of mine who I spent a day at New Jersey. A Model 3 Tesla is $39,000 right now, with all the rebates. It's $7,500, it's $32,000. And it's more economical to put an EV station in those units because it's only going to be more affordable for the end users, I look at, because the future is EV. It's not gas anymore. And I don't know why it is mutually exclusive kind of a thing. Actually, it should be mutually together in terms of better return and helping. If they really want to help, put a charging station that will only help the people in the future. So I don't think the cost and these things, for me, it's like more environmental friendly, and it helps many other ways, like the people during the gas prices are $5, people who had Tesla were enjoying, with the stuff. It was economy. And now with the minimum wages, still in that, gas is being high, the common person is struggling. So I think both should be independent, and actually EV is only helping the people who want affordable housing, in my sense.
Okay. And
May I make a
please.
comment? I think you could almost make the case, and it sounds like we have a little bit of homework to do, but I think you could almost make the case that those that live in affordable housing need access to EV chargers, not more than anyone else, but certainly more than some. So I think if we put in some kind of constraint or allowance for them to opt out, we're actually hurting the folks that really need the help the most, if that makes sense.
That's a good point coming from the sustainability side. Okay. If there's nothing else, I think that we've heard from staff, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you very much. We are scheduled for a break starting at 7:25. We're running a bit ahead of schedule. If it's okay, we'll just keep on going. That's okay with the council? Was there anything else, Mr. Ward? No, just make sure. Okay, there are 2 action items on this evening's agenda: the Summer Advisory Committee appointments and a resolution approving updates to the Advisory Committee application. Eric Smith, our town clerk, will facilitate both items. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor, colleague, council. All right, we'll start with the advisory committee recruitment item. Initially, advisory committee recruitment began on May 1 with an application submission date of May 31st. At your June 13th meeting, you did extend the recruitment through June 26th. with an enhanced emphasis on attracting more applicants for the Environment and Stormwater Committee, the Performance Measures Advisory Committee, and the Senior Advisory Committee. Council did complete electronic balloting from June 27th through July 10th, and tonight I will announce the results of that balloting. For the Environment and Stormwater Committee, Council selected to appoint Arthi Chander, Advaita Badaya, Ranga Narasimhan, and Beverly Gold Yekison. For the Smart City Steering Committee, Council selected to appoint Raghu Durasamy and Saikaran Kalavanu. For the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Advisory Committee, Council selected to appoint Elizabeth Dan, Jack Johnson, Robert King, Narki Narti, and Brian Cook. For the Performance Measures Advisory Committee, Council selected to appoint Kashab Patel and John Wall. For the Planning and Zoning Board, Council selected to appoint Chris Roebuck and Lee Langston. For the Public Education Advisory Committee, Town Council selected to appoint Ram Pudell and Sharance Ray. For the Public Safety Advisory Committee, Town Council selected to appoint Himanshu Desai, John Frederick, Sadaf Abbas, and Kalandu Sharma. For the Senior Advisory Committee, Town Council selected to appoint Lauren Butler and Karen Davis. I will note that there are 2 vacancies remaining on the Senior Advisory Committee, and there is 1 vacancy remaining on the Performance Measures Advisory Committee. For the Senior Advisory Committee, we do have 1 eligible applicant remaining, and for the Performance Measure Advisory Committee, there are no eligible applicants. Staff is going to continue their recruitment efforts via social media and in-person engagement, with a specific emphasis on PMAC and Senior Advisory. At council discretion, you can choose to leave these seats open until the winter appointment cycle, or you could always request that staff facilitate a special appointment cycle to fill these remaining seats.
I'd make a quick comment. If either of those has trouble meeting quorum, I'd be interested in getting some more applications and getting another chance to get them what they need to meet quorum. Otherwise, I'm willing to wait till the winter. Councilmember Garamella, did you have something? Okay. Does anyone have any other comments about this cycle? Okay. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Mayor, I think quorum is based on the number of appointed members, and that percentage, it's not based on the full membership necessarily that's available. At least that's my understanding. So I'm good to wait till winter, just to confirm what you said.
Okay.
If I could add, though, I do think we also have a minimum of 4 listed in our guidelines to allow them to hold a meeting.
The chair and vice chair, one of those 2 as well.
Correct.
Very good. Thank you.
So I think I'd always like to know if any of the committees are having trouble meeting quorum, because then we want to make sure that they're functioning as intended. Not that we'll do a whole new thing that the council could decide at that later time. Okay. If there's nothing else on that one, we'd have to have a motion to adopt those appointments.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-22.
Starting again.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-228-0 of the Morrisville Town Council considering appointments of advisory committee members as presented here tonight on the resolution.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. I know those are always a challenge to get all those together. Really appreciate my fellow council members taking the time to put in their votes. And I think I can speak for all of us that we encourage everyone to be involved, to apply to committees, and to attend these committee meetings because they're open to the public, and each of them has a public address option. So just because you're not on a committee doesn't mean you can't go and speak and share your thoughts and contribute to the town. We really appreciate that. I'll give the mic back to you, sir, so for our next item.
Moving on to the next item, which is going to be the resolution approving updates to the advisory committee application. During the March 30th work session, staff proposed revisions to the advisory committee application due to its increased length and complexity. This was largely due to the addition of questions based upon new committee-specific requested information, such as those specific questions for public education and smart cities. Those proposed changes are going to be seen here as attachment number 2. There was a good number of changes that Town Council did review, and they also concur with these recommended changes. During that work session, Town Council was also given the opportunities to suggest further modifications to enhance and simplify the application process. Those additional modifications are seen here as attachment 3. Since these were your most recent modifications, I will just go over these briefly. We did add a charter acknowledgement that's going to be moved to the top of the application page. It includes a direct link to all the committee charters. We also have added a notice to applicants that'll be put at the top of the application page that lets applicants know that they should submit 1 application per committee of interest, and applicants can apply to up to 2 committees. We were also asked to make sure that we highlighted that Morrisville geographical electoral district map and provided a link to that map. So we're going to highlight that within the application. Related to the Smart City Steering Committee, we did kind of wordsmith that third question. What experience do you have that would add value to this committee? And we did notate that technical experience is not required. And for the optional questions, we did add those demographic questions to include age, gender, race, ethnicity, and we also included the veteran status. And once again, these are optional questions. And we will also be providing some important committee information at the bottom of the application to include a link to the committee attendance policy and a link that shows all the committee meeting dates. We did incorporate all the proposed changes, and we presented a clean version that was included in your agenda packet of what the application would appear like with the included changes. We do ask that Town Council either approve the modifications, but you're also able to make further modifications at your discretion.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Councilmember Rabadi, please.
Me? Oh,
I'm sorry, your thing's
sorry,
up.
my question isn't on the application. Sorry.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or anything about this before we go ahead and entertain a motion to incorporate these changes? Councilmember Fender, please.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I am grateful to see that we are changing the questions for the Morrisville Smart City Steering Committee, because I do think there is a misunderstanding in the community that you have to have technical experience to be on that committee, which, is not necessarily the case, because good thing there's a long cord on this, but which we need to have feedback from potential users of the smart city technology, and not just and I can say this because I'm a geek as well, not just a bunch of fellow geeks sitting around coming up with all their geeky ideas. It needs to be applicable and user-friendly to the people that are going to be using the technology. And so I'm very glad that we are changing that question so we can get more diverse individuals on that committee.
I appreciate that comment too. Okay, seeing no other comments or questions, I'd entertain a motion to adopt.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously as well. Thank you, Town
Now I
Clerk
have a
Smith.
question.
Okay.
On the ballot, it would really help me out. So it helps that you have a column there for other committees that the person has applied to. I still need that. But it would really help me out if there was a second column that would say what the person's first choice is. Because I find that, as I work through the ballot, which is long, I find that I always have to go back and check which committee they wanted first. So that would just be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we're going to keep on going through the agenda. Is there anything else, Town Clerk Smith?
No, sir.
All set? Okay. Now we're at future meetings, events, and community engagement opportunities. The Western Wake Farmers Market offers healthy and fresh food and goods from small and local businesses from 8 a.m. to noon every Saturday at the Healthy Food Hub, 280 Town Hall Drive. You can visit http://wwfm.ag to see a complete list. Tomorrow morning, you can learn about Greek life at a small informative gathering at the Morrisville Senior Center, 4117 Davis Drive, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can celebrate the Year of the Trail in July with Agents of Discovery game on Shiloh Greenway. Join the town of Morrisville in celebrating the Year of the Trail with an exploration of Shiloh Greenway using the Agents of Discovery mobile app. Agents of Discovery is an augmented reality, geo-triggered app that gets users outside, active, and engaged in the community. Users become a top secret agent dedicated to solving the mysteries of science, culture, technology, and nature. I downloaded the app earlier. You can do it on Google Play or the App Store, and you can too. Then you head to Church Street Park and you get started. So that's something that's really fun and creative and innovative to get people outdoors. The Morrisville Aquatics and Fitness Center will be hosting 7 how-to classes in July that will focus on specific fitness and wellness topics. So please check out our website for information about that. This Saturday, you can learn more about the Morrisville Means Business program at an information session at the UTSAV event venue, which is 4181 Davis Drive, from 10 a.m. to noon. Information will be provided about the ongoing COVID-19 microgrant program and free professional services offerings for Morrisville small businesses. Major League Cricket has started ticket sales for America's first ever professional franchise cricket league. The games in Morrisville will take place on July 20th through 25th. So please see majorleaguecricket.com/tickets. Registration is now open for fall sports programming offered by the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Department, including developmental baseball, developmental softball, and recreational girls volleyball. You can sign up. It's available online or in person at any of the town's park and recreation offices, including the Cedar Fork Community Center or the Morrisville Aquatics and Fitness Center. Please save the date for Thursday, August 10th at 6 p.m. at Morrisville Community Park for S'moresville. That's always a lot of fun, messy, but fun. For a full listing of events, please see the town calendar at www.townofmorrisville.org or sign up online for our Next Week in Morrisville weekly email, which is sent out every Friday. At this time, we're at council and manager comments. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Rabati, followed by Councilmember Fender.
I'd just like to get a point of clarity. Will Church Street Park be closed during that cricket match, the 20th to the 25th?
I think we can go to Deputy Town Manager Zudema with that.
It will be controlled access because it's going to be a ticketed event. So in that sense, there will be we will be able to provide access, I believe, to the tennis courts, but the remainder of the facility will be closed for the event, and it will be a ticketed event.
Okay, and how have we publicized the fact that the park will be closed? The majority of the park will be closed.
I believe we're doing that now, and I'll follow up to ensure that that's part of the messaging that's been out related to the event. Yes, ma'am.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
No more comments.
Good. Sorry to preclude you. I remember initially there was going to be lots of things on the tennis courts, like media vans and stuff. That's no longer the case?
I don't believe so, but I'll confirm that, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Fender, followed by Councilmember Rao.
I have no comments.
Councilmember Rao, followed by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Just a couple. I want to thank everyone for the great Family Fun Festival. It was fun, great fireworks. I just want to take a moment to give Carrie a shout out. The last few years, they had a pro tennis tournament there called the Red Tire Tennis Championship. And for the past 2 years, player who played at Georgia Tech, Chris Eubanks, lost in the second round of both years. And he just won his round 16 match in Wimbledon, and he's going to be in the quarterfinals. So it's big for Georgia Tech's sports program, but huge that someone is included in the top 30 in the world. That was 700 in the world in Georgia. And the cricket is great. I think it's just wonderful when I see the stadium and everything coming into place, and just hearing a lot of positive buzz about it. On Saturday, I attended the T10 Stuff on Draft event. I know that Councilman Granella and their colleague were at the launch of that. It was really great to see teams from around the country come, so I'm looking forward to them bringing that to Morrisville. And finally, just a shout out to our technology team, getting a lot of positive feedback about our Morrisville app. So we can continue to showcase that for residents
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, followed by Councilmember Garamella, please.
I have no comments tonight.
Councilmember Garamella, followed by Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Yeah, just one comment. I think I was telling Brandon, I just came back from New Jersey and DC. I went to my cousin's place. He lives in Ashburn, and they have this location called One Loudon. It's pretty much exactly what we are trying to do here, like from a downtown point of view. It is awesome. They instead of saying downtown, they call it like One Loudon. So I would say like that's a clue. Put One Morrisville or something because it kind of symbolizes what it is, and it has everything in a mix from hotels to like breweries and everything. It's and a movie theater. It was just amazing looking at it and very friendly walking trails and places to do it. It's almost the size of what we have, but very, very nicely done. I would request staff to, when look at it, I'll send the website. It's pretty neat. That's all.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Lots of good stuff out there. I'm glad you brought that home for us. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no comments tonight.
Well, okay, I'll make up for yours. I had a few. I want to say a big thank you to our staff for a wonderful 3rd of July Family Fun Festival and for the music in the park this past week. I appreciate how our staff has been working so hard to create opportunities for our residents to get outside and get together. Speaking of which, the temporary disc golf course is up again at Cedar Fork District Park. If you want to play around with me, drop me a line. If you don't have your own discs, that's fine. I always have some spares in my van. Our 9-hole course is a little less than a mile total and takes less than an hour to play. At the state level, for the 2nd year in a row, CNBC picked North Carolina as the top state for business. And here in Morrisville, we are definitely doing our part when earlier this year, Morrisville was named a top 10 small city in the U.S. to start a business. And with our Morrisville Means Business Grant program underway, we will continue to support our businesses while maintaining our all-America quality of life. According to an article in Triangle Business Journal today, Morrisville's zip code of 27560 is the 15th wealthiest zip in the Triangle, with a median income of $101,850 and a median value of owner-occupied homes back in 2021 of $349,000, and a population of people who are 25 plus with a bachelor's degree back in 2021 was 40%. So that means we're a very well-educated community. That last stat ranks us 4th highest of all the top 25 zip codes in the area. So that's something to be very proud of. Having Wake Tech and so many spectacular schools around here is a big part of that. And I'm so glad to be part of such a welcoming and inclusive community whose members value families and education so highly. At this time, I'd like to recognize Town Manager Page for any comments from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder that we do have a work session with Wake County scheduled for tomorrow at 6 p.m. Hands up if you're planning on being here tomorrow.
Tomorrow at what time? Sorry.
6 probably 2 hours, 6 to 8 o'clock. It is a joint discussion where Wake County will be updating us on their affordable housing plan, what they've been accomplishing the last 5 years. The primary purpose of the meeting is a listening session with county commissioners to see what our needs are, understand our needs, and how we can work effectively together with them. They anticipate about 2 hours, and we're expecting at least 2 commissioners and some of their staff. Okay. So you'll all be here. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to recognize Deputy Manager Zudma, please.
Just a quick clarification, Mayor, regarding the tennis courts. I apologize. I misunderstood a comment in a meeting earlier today. I just verified that they will be closed those 4 days, potentially 5 days of the tournament due to the amount of equipment and other things going in there.
Okay, so I guess one question would be, will the greenway back there behind the tennis courts be accessible? Will people be able to use that?
Yes, the greenway will not be impacted.
Okay, but pretty much the rest of the park will be closed.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. That's very helpful. At this point, we are way ahead of schedule. We have one work session tonight, the Town Council Roundtable. We're going to be doing that down there at the table, and hopefully it'll be really quick because our roundtables are maximum of 5 minutes per item. It's pretty much to direct staff whether or not to continue with something or not.
We do have some updates, so that's at
That might
least
take a
15
little-
or 20 additional minutes. So it may be appropriate to take a break now.
Thank you very much for that input. We will take a 10-minute break right now. Please reconvene at 7:31 down at the table, and we'll begin with roundtables then. Thank you.
Submitted for review. Let's go through those first. We have 2 submitted by Mayor Colley, 1 submitted by Councilmember Rao. We'll go through each of them, 5 minutes each. And essentially what we're looking for is the sponsor of the item will present the item, discuss why they would like to explore it, and we're just looking consensus from council, whether they want to direct staff to evaluate it and come back with more information. Once we get those 3 done, then we'll move next to the updates on previously submitted roundtable items. Is that okay? So Mayor Colley, I turn it over to you so you could talk through both items you submitted, and then after you present your items, then Councilmember Rao will proceed with his item.
Okay, that sounds perfect. So once again, this is just about asking staff to evaluate more. We're not expending any money or anything like that. So back in June, I saw an article about bicycles, electric bicycles in Raleigh. And without any cost to them, they were able to do a pass-through, I think it was a federal grant, to supplement costs of electric bicycles as we try to encourage more people to get out of their cars and use our greenways and get around town without using fossil fuels. I think that this would be a really good thing for us to direct staff to just explore the possibility of applying for such a grant or supporting micro transit within the town. Does anyone have any questions? Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, followed by Councilmember Rabati.
Our greenways are wide enough to be multimodal, and when I and others have been walking on the greenways, some of the bicyclists are very polite and they give an audible warning about their, approaching people that are walking. But if we consider electric bikes, those go at a much faster pace. We have to think about the use on the greenways, what are some rules, and then whether or not they should just be on the streets. I think it's very important for safety that people don't get injured.
Okay, fair point. Thanks for sharing. Councilmember Rabati.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Whatever staff comes back with should include safety features. I also think that we should see that there's the bikes in Raleigh, if I'm not mistaken, are street legal. So are the electric scooters, which to me is pretty interesting. I tootled around one of those in Charlotte all day. So I think that we should also, as long as we're exploring grants, I think we should explore whether there's a grant for scooters too. Anything that gets people outside, especially if it can be quick.
Councilmember Fender.
Well, it called to mind, like what I saw in DC, in Chapel Hill, the ability to use your app to, I forget what you call it, to lease, pick up a bike. Reserve? Yeah, reserve, where they're all there available for anyone.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure if we're a big enough town that anyone would want to, but I like the idea of it being in our future. Councilmember Garamella?
Yeah, it's good to explore bikes, but not scooters. The reason that is we got a report a couple of months ago from the Public Works Director regarding the wedges of, when those footpath is, when you're going at a speed and the thing is on a wedge, you'll have people just flying off. And we have a lot of thousands of, especially I've seen Breckenridge and others that it doesn't, bikes at least you have that, but also my concern about the bikes is we don't have proper access still, which is missing, like orphan, like side, like walkways, and not all our streets are bike friendly either. So what is the alternative when the person is going from A to B? What will he pick? So if not for this one, but if staff can do a bigger analysis to find out where those kind of areas are, and that would be helpful in the future too, not just for this one.
Okay, I think everyone's chimed in. Yeah, go ahead.
My thing, but I just want to echo the whole safety piece as well. I think this is worthy of investigation, but I think the safety of not only the bike rider, but also others on our greenways. And I do want to echo, there are some very courteous bike riders out there today, and there are some who are not. So I'm concerned if we have all these e-bikes out there too, what that does, because they do go a little faster. So if we could, just to keep that in mind as we're evaluating.
Okay.
I'm in support of number 4 as long as we take into back some of these considerations. But I think it's a
Okay,
good
so
idea.
why don't we, if you're in favor of directing staff to evaluate and bring something back to us, go ahead and give a thumbs up. 3, 4, 5, okay. I think that's enough. Does staff have any other questions, or do they have enough to go forward at this point?
No additional questions?
Okay. My next item was I really enjoy when we have our festivals, and we've rented a stage for the last few events that we've had. A couple of years ago, I asked if Wake County would be willing to purchase one of these stages and share it with the different municipalities, and they were not interested in exploring that. But I think it might make sense for us to buy a stage and then have it for our own use. It's a portable stage, it's mobile, and it gets stored somewhere out of the way. It can be pulled by a regular pickup truck. So you saw it at 3rd of July Festival, you saw it at Springfest, you saw it at Juneteenth. So this is the type of stage that I'm talking about. We don't have to get that stage, but something like it I think would really add to our ability to be really flexible. We could choose the dates of whenever we want to have a festival. We could use it for any kind of music in the park. We could use it for maybe movies in the park, any of our events. I would see it as something that staff could be innovative and come up with new ideas. If we could do one community gathering a month using this stage, it could essentially pay for itself within a few years. So my ask would be to ask if we're willing to direct staff to ask Public Works, Comms, Parks and Rec, and anyone else they think is important within those departments to think if this would be something that would be usable and useful going forward. Now, people would have to be trained to actually operate it, but I come back to think about Caleb Allred. He does a lot of work with the Smart Shuttle. That's a lot of work, but it benefits the town, and I think it helps his professional development. So I think that having people trained in something like this is actually a good thing, and it's useful for our town. I don't know what all the numbers are. Online, I was able to see that it's rented for about $3,000. I don't know what we rented it for. So that would be an important data point. What they're being sold for would be an important data point. So it's a matter of asking staff if they think it would be used, if staff would be excited to use it to expand our amenities and our events, and whether or not it could pay for itself. Even with the town center coming up, and we're going to have a stage there, this would give us the ability to have events also over at Cedar Fork District Park, which I think we may be underusing a little bit, and other locations. We could use it for the tree lighting and things like that. So does anyone have any questions about where I'm going or any ideas? Councilmember Scroggins-Johnson.
I figure I'll start just like I did the last one, no worries. I do think that we use a stage for a lot of our events, but the need and the size of the stage does vary on the location. So I'm also concerned about where we would store such a stage. We do have the Public Works facility scheduled to be planned, designed, and built. I would imagine that would be a location, but we don't have that facility at this time. The downtown will have a permanent stage, and eventually the Cedar Fork, down on by the school will not be usable because we're expanding athletic facilities, and then Cedar Fork District Park is definitely variable in its readiness to have a stage kind of situation. So I like the idea of having a flexible kind of stage. I just don't think the timing right now is good for storage, and we're in a transitional state as far as our uses. So that's just me. Thanks.
Councilmember Rabadi, please.
but I would want to see the ROI, like you said, we're gonna have the town center, we're gonna have, I want to make sure that if we did make a purchase like that, it would pay for itself in some kind of time from that. But I would look at some ROI calculations, yeah.
I had one other thing that I forgot to mention, that a lot of organizations like to rent our fields, and this could be something that we could use, and we could charge a little bit less than market, and then that could help us pay for it a little bit sooner too, and we could add value to people having events in our parks. Councilmember Garamella?
Two things. The idea is fine, but the key is, are we in that business of doing these kind of things? Like obviously we subcontract to many other things, it's liabilities and all these things that come with it. ROI would be good to get a cost benefit analysis of what they're doing, how much they're spending versus the whole cost of it, and insurance and liabilities and the manpower to go along with it and to pull and all these things. It's easy said that, if it is 12 hours of stages, there is not like we leave, someone has to ensure it is done and then packed up. So the ROI, I would put the cost of labor and maintenance and every thing which is needed, which in one way is 5,000 to 3,000, but at the same time they're coming, they're doing it. If it falls down, it is on them. You don't have to worry. It's less of a legal task if something happens.
But on the other hand, $3,000 is going great to set one of these up and babysit it for a day. I mean, I would be interested in some numbers on how much we could charge for them. I don't think it would have to be, if someone's already renting a park and we tack on the requisite amount of money for the stage, I could actually, I like that factored into ROI too, is if we pay $3,000 for it and charge $2,000 for setting it up in conjunction with the park run. I mean, what you pay for it is all just park run. So that's an interesting.
Councilmember Fender?
Yeah, my question is, what problem are you trying to solve by us having one? Is this a request, is this something that's been asked for by Public Works or the Parks and Rec? What's the advantage? What's the advantage of having our own stage? To me, it just seems like you're creating more of a headache.
Okay, understood. Someone said it would be really neat to have the stage. No, I think it would be really convenient. My understanding would be that we could choose our own dates.
Is that a problem now?
I don't know, that could be something that staff could explore.
I guess that's what I'd be interested. I think the rate of return is important, but I don't know what problem I'm trying to solve
Well, I guess
by
it's,
buying our own stage.
yeah, I would think that if it pays for itself in 5 years, everything after that is we're no longer renting it. So,
You still have to keep it up,
yeah, so that's,
maintain it,
yeah,
deal with it.
it's like any of our fire engines or any kind of equipment.
Looks a little different than a fire engine, but
A little bit different, but we keep them up and then we surplus them. So, yeah. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
So I don't want to put staff on the spot, but I recall this conversation in the past, and you were not, there were lots of reasons not to even move this forward. So do you all want to weigh in now, or would you rather come back? Either way, I want your opinion on this.
So
For all these reasons and more, quite
yeah,
frankly.
you are correct that this has been asked and looked at in the past, and staff did not recommend pursuing it. You've mentioned some of the reasons why, the storage. Even if you train staff, when you don't do it regularly, you lose those skills. There are liability and insurance issues, and we are substantially paying for the labor more than perhaps the stage rental. Now, that's what I can remember from the last time we looked at this. It's not been a budget request that has been submitted by the department as a high priority.
That's it. That was, if I recall, that was a couple of years ago, and now we've been doing a lot more events. So that's why I think it might make more sense now, and that's Not asking to buy it, just asking to have staff explore it, update the information, and see if it's worth bringing back to us. Does anyone else have any other comments before we decide on thumbs? Okay. Those who are in favor of asking staff to just evaluate this item, please thumbs up. Okay. Does staff need anything else to move forward on that item?
We got 4, right?
Yep.
No, that's it.
You're up.
Well, this is just some ideas I want to share with council. We talked a lot about, rising housing prices and costs, and we've got a work session about affordable housing. Wake County actually increased their budget this year by $55 million to address paying their school workers more. And so one of the things I thought is it would be interesting to explore, certainly an effort to keep our Wake County employees healthy and their quality of life up, and even reducing healthcare costs, to offer some kind of a discounted rate to the MAFC. I know that we as town council members have a free membership, advisory committees have a free membership, and it just was something I thought about. Would it be a good beginning to start with one area of the population, like Wake County school employees, if they're living in Morrisville, some kind of a resident rate or discount off the resident rate. And then, of course, I started thinking there could be other groups that we would do, but I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts about this. I think that it's important, in my opinion, as a town, that we, inclusivity and affordability I think, are two important goals of ours. And I think this is kind of an easy step to consider, although I wanted to get staff to review this and come back with what our options are. I know that the final thing I'll say is that I know that oftentimes I've been in Morrisville and I've seen someone that lives a half a mile down the road paying the non-resident rate to use MAFC versus the resident rate. So, and most of the times the reason for that is, well, it could affect the revenue. But I think if we discount the rates a little bit and motivate a certain part of the population, it's actually going to increase the use of the facility, which is what we want, to have more and more people using the facility. So anyway, just wanted to share those ideas.
Do you know what the difference is between a resident rate and a non-resident rate?
It's a percentage more. I can't tell you exactly what it is. It was in our budget document. We show all those resident and not.
Councilmember Caramella, sorry, I'll continue to facilitate.
The idea is good, but if Wake County has increased it for their employees, if Wake County has increased for their employees more than we as a town, as a individual identity, I think Wake County should have an intergovernmental contract between all the towns that they operate at a higher level and not just Morrisville. In that way, the offer can go to any employee or any old staff or those policies, they have. That way, it's not restricted to just Morrisville. And that's something Martha can take it with their managers, when they have if that is if there is a demand for that, instead of what good does it do when we know hardly 10 or 15, 20% live in Morrisville?
Yeah, I don't know how many live in Morrisville.
I
don't know.
So we don't have any data or the employees of Wake County living in Morrisville either. So what are we achieving out of that?
Okay, do you want to respond?
Well, we could use it as a way to encourage more of these teachers and employees to live in Morrisville as we develop an affordable housing program. So,
Councilmember Rabadi?
I think it's a huge mistake to wait on other government entities to stop screwing North Carolina teachers. I don't think that's, frankly, a way forward. But I do think that I can see the benefit of, I just think teachers, I can definitely see a benefit to encouraging teachers to be healthier, to to utilize a facility that we have that has capacity for it. I mean, teachers are the most stressed out people in the world. Like, if we as a council can do something to alleviate that, and I just don't think, I mean, if we offer a discount membership, it's net new memberships no matter what we charge. So like, for example, it's money we're not getting now that wouldn't significantly, like, what am I trying to say? Okay,
It's
sorry.
marginal
Like,
revenue.
So it's not like we're discounting memberships that we already have. We would be driving memberships that we don't already have. We'd just be driving them at a rate that's lower than they would be paying now. And I'm fine with Cary residents paying the Morrisville rate and Morrisville residents getting a discount. I'd be fine with that. I mean, I'd like to see I'm fine with getting options, I guess is what I'm saying.
Councilmember Fender, were you looking to add something?
I just wanted to make sure, our town staff, did they get free membership?
Town staff gets free
Yes.
memberships.
Do we know if the Wake County employees, school system employees already get like some sort of supplement or subsidy as part of their benefit package to go toward?
They don't get jack.
Oh, that's a question that we could ask staff to look into. We don't really know the answer, so that's why we're.
I'm curious, I mean, not.
So I'm going to
just
ask for a
curious,
clarification here, because as I understand Councilmember Rao's request, he's talking about Wake County employees.
Yes.
School teachers are not Wake County employees. They are Wake County Public School System employees. So I just want to.
That's what I meant.
I'm just asking for what the request
Wake
is.
County Public School employees, that's what it is.
So not Wake County employees,
No, just the
Wake
public
County
school, yeah,
Public
focusing on
School
schools,
System
yes.
employees. Okay.
I think, because that's the same that we're thinking about for affordable housing. I think that's a similar
No,
demographic.
affordable housing is not just Wake County employees, it's Wake County employees too, which includes the prison system, like we work in that. And it's a bigger audience, you know, we're not confined to just the school teachers.
Okay, so you made it clear that we're just talking about Wake County Public School employees for this one, to explore the possibility. And all of this is just exploring the possibility anyway.
Anyway, I'm in favor of Rao's suggestion.
Mayor Pro Tem, are you going to chime in?
I just have I don't mind looking into this, but there was a comment made about that kind of indicated maybe that the facility is underutilized. You know, we need to draw more memberships. So I don't know how true that is. So I'd like that part of the discussion. But that shouldn't be the reason for doing this, quite frankly.
I just think I don't think it's underutilized. It's just always good to get more people to use our facility. I mean,
Well, at some point, that's not good either.
Yeah,
That's why there's a balance.
Just for context, usage changes hour to hour and part of the facility or not. So it could be under capacity at some times and in some places, and well over capacity at some times in other places. That's even now.
Yeah, that's why we did the renovation, because sometimes the studio classes were too full. So I
Totally.
guess that
That's
would be
right.
part of the ask, is to see if there's capacity to add more people, or if we're really running at the membership level that we need to be. And we can't really stress it anymore with more discounted memberships. But I really love the idea of having our school teachers, especially Morrisville Elementary, which is just right up the block. But I think this would be offered to Cedar Fork as well as Parkside. Is that correct? And people don't need to live near it, but if they work anywhere near it, that's where they could work out on the way to work or on the way home. I think our teachers deserve the chance. I'd like us to look into it.
So, all right, I need a point of clarification then. Are we talking all Wake County Public School System, or only those that are Wake County Public School System employees in Morrisville schools? Well, that could be part of the whole
yeah,
evaluation.
maybe the evaluation. I think it would make sense to look at initially Wake County in Morrisville schools. That would make it easier to.
Or employees that live in Morrisville.
Well,
could be another thing.
Yeah.
That could be the second component of it, teachers that are residents.
Well, residents get the residence rate anyhow. Residents get the resident rate, so we're,
But I'd be also interested in less than resident rate, more of a discount too, as a possibility.
What the suggestion was, if they're already a resident, it would be a discount.
A discount from the resident rate, if they're a teacher in Morrisville or if they're a Wake County teacher.
oh, I missed that part, so sorry.
That's what I
You
meant.
want it even lower than the resident rate.
Some kind of a discounted rate.
And to be clear, there's Sterling Montessori as
Yeah.
well.
Brings up the point. I mean, they're still public school employees. It's not a Wake County public school.
I wonder if we're kind of wandering into solutioning here?
Yeah, I mean, I
Right.
just wanted, it was just an idea. I didn't, you know, probably vet it a little bit more, but.
Okay, so we've been on this one for 10 minutes or a little bit more. We ready to do a thumbs up, thumbs down? Or no, thumbs up? Okay, all those in favor of asking staff to just explore it, please thumbs up. Okay.
Thank you.
The next item we have is an update on the previously submitted items. So I have provided you all with a spreadsheet that shows an update on all the items in progress. All of those items that are, I have provided an update that completes that item has been marked on that same spreadsheet. Let me change it.
Where's the spreadsheet?
You got this by email. Do you have it
We
in the last-
provided
I
it.
recognize it now. All right.
We provided it electronically in support of sustainability. We elected not to print them out. So I emailed them to you all yesterday, and I provided additional individual files for the items we just discussed today. So this is a spreadsheet that I am referring to. All the changes are highlighted in green. So all those cells are the ones that have been updated. If the item has provided an update for which it completes the request, then it should say the item is now completed. And for the next report, it will be moved to the completed tab. All completed items that were previously discussed are on page number, it should be page number 5. So you have the first file will be the in progress item, then right behind it comes the completed items, and the next one will be the inactive item. So if you have any questions on any of those, just feel free to reach out. I'll be more than happy to provide you any additional answers. If you have any questions right now, I'll be glad to entertain those, or otherwise you can just send me an email if you would like to review them a little more in detail, and I will be more than happy to provide more information.
So the smart shuttle schedule now, why is that one on hold?
Yeah, the top one right there.
The comment that was last provided in March 2023 was that the Smart Shuttle program updates will be presented. So the Smart Shuttle update was presented last October, and we said that we will keep the program as it is for a year, for another year, so that we have a 2-year comparison, and then we'll come back with another update. So the progress reports that we are providing with Smart Shuttle takes care of that.
Okay, I did
Yeah.
not realize that that was the feedback, that we were waiting another year.
So is the next follow-up October of 23 rather than March?
When this was moved to the inactive page, it was back in March 2023, so last March. So we have not done any changes to the inactive spreadsheet.
Okay, but our next follow-up should never be in the past. So the next follow-up should be something in the future, right? Because you said that we will be looking at this again after 2 years.
We're looking at it again this fall, correct?
We will
Right,
be looking at it this fall. And we can certainly clarify this. We will have another roundtable in August, so I can certainly update that for our August update. Any questions at this moment? We have two major updates on two of the items presented on this spreadsheet, for which we have additional attachments because the update was bigger than what we will fit on a cell. And our town manager page will go through each of those. One is the joint meetings with the advisory committees, and the second one will be the relocation of the Gandhi statue. Beside those two items, do we have any questions on the updates that are provided on the spreadsheet? Okay, seeing none, I'll turn it over to Town Manager Page to then go over those two updates.
Right, and this information was also emailed to you. I'm just going to go over. So you got a 2-page summary of the feedback we got from all the advisory committees on how, if, what, when, where they wanted to meet with council. So general consensus is, yes, they all would welcome and explore, like to explore those kinds of meetings. Most prefer a meeting for council members to come to their existing meetings. Some are interested or would come to you, but they expressed interest to come to their meetings. Two actually provided specific dates that they'd like to invite council members to come. The rest we would need to coordinate. Council really needs to talk about now how you want to navigate that. Is that all of you? Do you want to pick? Do you need a schedule of committees? How do you want to proceed with now having those meetings over the next, I'll say, 6 months or so?
I think it would be great if we could have a schedule of meetings so that we could plan to attend, and it could be one or more of us that would be attending a public meeting.
Yeah, I think that's really important for, I think that's the core issue. Getting all of you at any one meeting is problematic, but you have to also be comfortable with recognizing you're going to have to choose to go or not to go if we provide you with a sign-up sheet so that you could go to as many as you want or none, but are you fulfilling? And of course, how that appears to the committee members. Do you care enough to go or not go and hear what they have to say? Some of them want to share their work plans. Some just want to have Q&A sessions. Some want to hear from council about what you see about their work and what they can do. So again, you have that information. But I think the core issue is it some, and are you just going to be comfortable with those that go representing council? Or do you want a minimum of 2 or 3 or no more than 4? I think that's the core issue. I saw Councilmember Rabadi first.
I saw that there were dates on some of those meetings. Could you send out like a little survey of
I can.
Which meetings, and then let us know if there's some that nobody can come to, because I wouldn't sign up for ones that I have work commitments on or other commitments, but if there's going to be a meeting with nobody there, then I would make a bigger effort to move things around. I think it's important that if they have a preference when we be there, that that somebody goes.
There were 2 that identified
Yeah.
October and November, 1 October, 1 November. Not all of the committees meet every month. So just have to coordinate that. But it would be very easy to put together the schedule of the events and see if there could be a mass of employees. Don't want to go to multiple meetings, but yes, we could do that to help at least facilitate the conversation. Mayor Pro Tem?
So I understand this, that we're not all going to be able to make all the meetings. That's clear. We have vacations and family commitments and work commitments. So I think how we pose that and how we present this is going to be important so that the committee understands that. So that's number 1. And number 2 is I want to have the ability to attend all of them if I can. I'm not sure that I can either, quite frankly. I haven't seen any dates yet. So I think that we all should have that ability to attend all that we can. But again, I think it's important how we share this, because you are right, Martha. I have been to many meetings over the years, and inevitably somebody will say, well, only 2 council members cared to show up, and that's not it. So I think it's important how we message it and how we as a council message that when we're at the meeting itself.
And I think that might be similar to what we're seeing with Wake County. They sort of designated some people. And again, once we gather some information behind the scenes, that could be part of the messaging. And if I, just before I forget it in my head, is if there are, I'll call it ground rules that council wants to consider about how information will be shared, is it your personal opinion? It shouldn't be. It should be where council is. But how does that play out? We'll have time, I think, to talk about that. Maybe even we'll try to get this for you for the August 24th roundtable, so that maybe we can come up with that schedule and maybe have a little bit of conversation. Again, I'm not trying to prescribe it, but so that you know what you are doing going into the meetings, so that everybody is sort of operating from the same playbook. I think that would be helpful to council. All right, Councilmember Guillermo.
I think I was thinking the same grounds. Having a liaison, like one primary, one secondary, to each of the committees would be good, because, as you rightly said, I have few things which I like, the other things, it's let it be, I'm fine, someone else goes for it. And that way, it is distributed among, it's almost too intense going to all these meetings. Or is it only for the joint meetings that we are talking about, or any meeting?
So anybody can go to any
Exactly.
advisory committee meeting. This is designed to be, you are on their agenda, not just they're listening to what they have to talk about. You will be actively engaging and having conversation with the committee. So that's how I see it as different.
Okay, all right.
Did everybody have a first chance?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I agree with, we should give ability for everyone to attend as many meetings as we want, but I believe it's more productive if we have a designate 1 and designate 2 to be on the joint meetings. Because I've always thought this, even for something like the Cary Joint Task Force, right? When we all go and we're participating, I don't think it's effective as having like 2 or 3 of us there, because then those 3 can be our representatives for that joint meeting. And
You're talking on an ongoing basis, though.
Well, no, okay, here's what I'm saying.
Clarify.
Okay, so let's use, for example, joint meeting for Educational Advisory Committee, right? So Councilmember Garamello spearheaded that initiative, but he's very passionate about education. So he and someone else could be the point person for that joint committee. And that ongoing for that joint committee, not any meeting.
But that's not what we're talking about here.
I thought that's what we were talking about, as the designates for the joint
No,
meeting.
it's only for the joint.
Well, it's been raised as an option about how to do it. And that may come out of the survey materials. And we could even ask that question if there's interest of council members, so that then you have it all collected. We can ask that question.
Okay,
You've got 8 committees.
Yeah. But is it?
And there's 7 of you.
Is it not true, Martha? I thought, I asked this question early on. Our bylaws do not allow to be a liaison like Cary does.
We just don't have any guidelines. It's
because
not that they don't allow it. We just don't have.
That kind of
we don't
designation.
have that. It doesn't mean you couldn't put it in.
Yeah. Right now we don't. That's
another roundtable.
Because we all have so much experience. We should just give our time to some of these committees. Two of us, one of us. Plenty of work to do.
So I think I have what I need. Mayor, did you have any comments
Yeah, I
to
would just add that I would try to go to them, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to go to all 8, and that's okay. If I were to go, I'd say that any interactions, it's pretty much just my opinion. Your charter is your direction. These would be some of the things I'd be interested in maybe you guys seeing and doing as you explore things, but I'm just speaking as an individual. I'm not speaking on behalf of the council.
I don't think you could go to an advisory committee meeting and speak at I mean, they've invited us there, they've invited the council there.
Right.
I don't think you go to a meeting like that and speak as an individual. I think they will hear you as an individual, even if you do, you know?
Yeah, that's not the purpose of the meeting. It is council. You've established charters, you've established work plans. It is supposed to be council's perspective, not individual perspectives.
You are an advocate of the entire when you speak as to the committee.
Because I've been to a number of meetings and I just pretty much sit and listen. And I,
Yeah, but you won't at this one.
right.
Right. This will be on the agenda.
So, I mean, I like the idea. I'm not sure how we are able to give them information from the council other than the charter, because that's what we've directed them to do. So I think it's useful, and I think we should do it, but there's that balance.
Well, we'll probably get some clarity on that coming up, right?
Right. The other thing is, if you don't feel comfortable on the agenda for each of these meetings, maybe we just have 2 talking points for every committee, for whoever goes from the council there, and we all deliver the same message, and we take feedback. That'll be useful to us. That'll have a consistent messaging from us as well. So just going and listening is great at any time you feel comfortable, but if we're on the agenda, we need to have an opportunity to share, maximize that opportunity, I think.
I think if we're on the agenda, we need to have more than 1 or 2 council members there.
I agree with that, Donna. I think if you're going to pick dates, that there should be a significant number. I'd say a majority of us. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't know what.
On the agenda, can there be a designated spokesperson? Like, what I would like to avoid, if at all possible, and I bet they would too, is this thing where I say something, and then Donna says the same thing, and Vicki says the same thing, the same words, and then Liz says, well, not to repeat ourselves, but, and then says the same thing, and then TJ says, okay, well, I'm just going to go off in a totally different direction, and then essentially says the same thing. Like, I would like to avoid that. If we could designate a spokesperson, I'll go to every one if we can designate a spokesperson. I don't want to go to every one and have all of us, like, even if we each only take 2 minutes, you have dragged that meeting out to.
So a couple comments is I think once we get an inventory, that'll help us, resolve some of these things. But also you have staff liaisons that are intimately familiar with what the committee's doing, that can help you with some talking points if necessary, or what the committee, staff can provide support for council going into those meetings as well.
Can we clarify the reason for these meetings? Because maybe I'm seeing them a little differently. I do think it's fine to have some kind of talking points, but I see it as the opportunity for them to give us I really want to hear from these committee members and hear how if things are going well or not. I would hope that we do a lot less talking, that it's mostly them. So remind me why are we doing this?
When we a couple years ago, when we thought there was some, I'll call it disconnect between the advisory committees and working on things that align with council goals, or council knowing what they were working on, is in efforts to align the work, we put into the annual work plans, the review of those periodically, and periodic joint meetings. And if you remember, we had some specific instances, MPAC, and I think we've had another one that, yeah, that yes, I think you're right, that just to make sure everybody's sort of talking from the same hymnal is why we put that into the plans, is committees aren't working off on a tangent, and again, allowing your advisory committees to feel appreciated, a part, connected, and them, you connected to their work. So that's the reason why joint meetings were suggested as a way to do that. Annual reports to the council, they're not interested in doing that. Somebody suggested at one point they all get together. They're not interested in doing that. So this was another option
Okay, so this is not meant for us to deviate from the work plans. It's not meant for us to tell them we want them to work on 15 more things.
That's the work, yeah, that's the work plan. And again, that's a document that you can have to remember what they're working on. We have those. You've looked at those earlier this year. You know, the work that council's doing that aligns with that, or the things that we're talking about, all of those things can
So
happen.
to Donna's point, that's some of that talking point then, to maybe start from that kind of point and reinforce and.
And just being on the same page with some of these committees, which I think that we've gotten a little away from certain times. And I don't want to get into the details, but there's certain committees where things are said by committee members on the zone, on the like P and Z, that don't ally with the goals of this council. And I mean, it just is important for us to be what we need to be with those committees to make sure that we're all on the same page. And that's not happening with some of our committees. So I just want to be clear about that.
So going back, I think of this as instead of getting an annual report out from them, I think that was an intention early. That hasn't worked out. So I would like to go to these committees and have them tell me what they've been doing, what they've been successful about, what they're going to be doing next. So kind of like an annual report out, but we go to them because they don't want to come here and do it to us. So that's kind of just a high level that I think could be a benefit and help us align and know what they're excited about going into the future. If we have a problem with that, next time they bring the work hand to us, we'll be ready to maybe address it, help them, guide them a little bit, because they're there to help us make policy.
I think it'd be a good opportunity for them if they have any questions of us, be their opportunity at that time to ask us the questions.
But if there's only two of us, our answers are,
That's
we
why
can
I'm
guess what the rest of us are thinking, but we're not
But
for sure.
That's why I'm saying we don't, if we're going to do this, it's not just two of us. It's 4 or more. I mean, because.
That could be a possibility.
I mean, if we were just, I mean, we can go any old time to any of these meetings. There might just be 1 or 2 of us. So we can already do that. So unless we're going to have a designated meeting with us on the agenda and more of us there, we're not doing anything.
Let's start out with the survey first of the dates.
Yeah, we'll get that out and going and be prepared to have some supplemental conversation at the August 24th roundtable. The first date we've been provided is in October, and that does sort of, again, with everybody on vacation and stuff, it may be in that, I'll call it compressed period of time anyways, that we could just sort of, and then we can learn from how it worked to sort of plan for future years. We do anticipate, this is sort of a side, but I think we perhaps all come to maybe a awareness that maybe an annual update of a work plan may not be as good as maybe a biannual update of a work plan. And if we align those appointments to that as well, when you have consistency in membership and that may make this all better too. It just has to occur over time.
Biannual is every 2 years?
Yes.
What was the other committee that had a date? Saw environmental.
I think Senior Advisory Committee suggested a date, either September or November. So we have the dates of all of the advisory committee meetings. So we'll just put that together for you.
I mean, we could just start with those 2 committees since they already are honing in on the date and see how that goes.
All right. All right, so the other one is the Gandhi statue, and I think Giselle's pulling this up. This was an item that was discussed in February. We gathered information from Marbles. The statue was originally donated to Explorus, not Marbles, and at that point it met, I'll say the mission and vision of Explorus. There were some mergers of organizations, so it's on Marble's campus, but it really doesn't, not a bad thing. It just doesn't align with their vision of play as a learning for young people. So and if you've ever been there, it's sort of in their back courtyard. This is the statue. It's on a big base. The organizations that donated it, as I understand it, and Councilmember Rao may be able to provide some more information, do at least one annual, I'll call it ceremony, and then I think there may be some other service level type things that they do related to the statue that we would just have to take into consideration if you want to put it somewhere, and that there would be involvement that we would have to make sure was captured in whatever we do. That it is not a simple pick it up and move it somewhere. It will take at least $3,000 to move it, and before we would move it, we need to know where we're going to place it, because there needs to be a base, and that requires some geotechnical and design and placement of where you would want to put this. There is ongoing maintenance every year to take care of the statue. And so it's really, what do you want as the next steps for this item? And any questions else I can ask?
I have a question.
Yeah, answer, not ask.
I have a question. So they've offered this statue to Morrisville. Is anyone else interested in, like, is it for sale, or what's the exact
No, I
situation
think
with the statue?
we've been the ones asking about it.
We, meaning the town of Morrisville.
Well, one person in the town of Morrisville. But I believe Councilmember Rao I believe Councilmember Rao has vested interest, because I think he's perhaps been a part of this group. Yeah.
I'm into it. I'll start, a couple of years ago, we did go visit it. It's a good statue, and I think we went and met Scott Travers, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that was Wake Tech, and Wake Tech. We thought of Wake Tech, but Wake Tech, it doesn't fit with there. But with 47% Asian population, even HSNC President Manoj Pandya came to me and asked, and it is very easily, you can keep it in HSNC campus, but that does not solve the purpose of what it is, because people know. So they were asking, like, somewhere in the town, and Heritage India is the organization that does October 2nd is his birthday, when they go and do the event or something, and they and many other organizations will be ready to chip in. I'm sure the cost of moving and also the other things, that maintenance ongoing. I don't think that's a big deal. Yeah, whatever.
And thank you for sharing that. I don't really have any reason to dispute that. That again, we don't have, I'll say, mechanisms in place for people to just start chipping in on stuff. So again, there has to be some policy structure to this.
Absolutely.
Again, donations. We don't have a fully vetted public art. There's just other stuff. I'm not trying to put roadblocks, but it is part of a bigger picture. Where you want statues, whether they're donated or you do them your own, are there criteria? None of that's resolved yet. This is just a unique situation, but that's coming as a part of probably your public art program, but we're just still working on piloting a mural, so there's still some time before all of those things are going to be developed.
What started this, real quickly, when you look back to when you and Councilmember Guerrero and I went to go meet the museum and then talk to Dr. Rawls, right now they are going to be doing, there are underway expansions over at Explorers and Marbles, and the statue is not in a very visible place, so it's not viewed by as many people.
And more than that, the worry at that time was, with all the monuments getting destroyed during the movement of, the Civil War era, those things, they wanted to ensure no one is damaging, because downtown at that time was going through a lot of rough time. And I think the logical space for me is either Cary or Morrisville. You know, they can't go to any other part of the county because the population has to be kind of appealing towards it. And if Morrisville is one, then I think I'll let staff decide locations. No one is hung up on any locations, but somewhere within the Morrisville jurisdiction that they think it can best suffice.
So I just want to make sure I understand. So you're saying the purpose is for it to be in a public space, so other people,
Mm-hmm.
the public can see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I to add to that, this has been going on for a couple of years. I did a research, like, you know, like how many statues are there? Like close to 50 or 60. The closest one is in Charlotte downtown and opposite of the courthouse. Like it's in Mass Avenue, opposite to Indian Embassy in San Francisco. It's spread all across. It's not just like, you know, it's concentrated to like the Indian population. It is like 50 or 60 statues right now.
Gandhi statues.
Gandhi statues, yeah, all across the country.
Well, if you say people are willing to chip in and get it done, right? Is it possible, like, if somebody wanted to buy it from Marbles and get it moved, can they donate it to the town and then like?
Yeah, that's what
put it,
we,
like,
there's
over
no
by the
cost. There's no
cricket
cost. There's no
like,
cost
put it
of
over by
it.
the cricket grounds or something, or I mean,
There is no cost. That no one is looking for a cost recovery here, and neither Marbles is looking for it because it was donated to Marbles as a location of where it could keep it. The only ask is like, okay, Marble is saying it's not doesn't fit our MO of having it, and plus it's not put in a location. You're not doing justice to that, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll acknowledge the costs are, at least the moving costs are relatively nominal. I don't know what the costs of getting it set and established on a concrete, but it's still nominal.
Yeah, very minimum.
So but staff's job is always to make sure you have all the information that you need to consider.
So I'd be interested in asking the follow-up question. I'm curious, HSNC is not an option because it's privately held property and not many people would go visit it there?
No, the idea is like, if you're going to HSNC, people know who Gandhi is, okay? Like, it's not basically adding to the population to portray. The whole reason it was in Marbles, they could have even had it in HSNC if they wanted to start with, was to portray the work of Gandhi outside, for the outside people. And it's a beautiful statue. It's a solid brass and copper. It's heavy and it's really done.
I would think that if they're willing, at least as an interim step, to get it into Morrisville and they put it on their front property in front of the Little Temple, that's a very visible place and it could be a tourist attraction. And it could actually meet that need of helping educate the community a little bit more. But if we want to wait until we have a more full-fledged public art and have staff analyze a few different locations that they think would be appropriate and bring that to council, I'm also in favor of that, but it could do both.
Well, I think the reason, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councilmember Carmella, but the reason of doing it somewhere other than the HSNC is that we wanted this to be something that all people from all
Yeah, that's
religions
the whole
and walks of
purpose.
life. So if you
How
put
many
it with
people will go to?
HSNC,
I think they
then
would be
it's-
very welcoming. I think they'd welcome more people, except on big festival days.
I don't know that jives with the fact that that's a private property, that you'd be inviting public that's just my first thought on that. And then again, you have to, if you want people to visit and look at the statue, you have to have capacity for people to park and do all those kinds of things, which is why location does matter.
Yeah.
One of the things that Councilmember Rao included was potentially town center. If that is where you want to put it, then it probably does need to wait because you're working on town center. So that's just a question I might have is the priority consider it for town center or get it to Morrisville just
I mean, we could
as you're
do
talking
it,
about this?
We could do it more immediate and still be in town center if it was in the middle of
That's-
the roundabout.
Not a good idea in the roundabout
Someone
because
hits
again,
it.
you're not going to be able to meet the need for
It'll be a
people
bigger
to
issue.
stop, visit it. It's just not going to work there.
I think we should get
There are
it.
so many accidents around about people don't see.
has anybody explored putting it on the grounds of the library? I mean, that's literally a place for learning.
But that's again Wake County property.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
does anybody talk to them?
We haven't explored
Yeah, we're not
anything at this point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah, we are
think,
solutions.
Yeah, just come up, we just
So-
want options.
no, yeah, I'm going to say, if the consensus is there to bring it into Morrisville, then let the staff look at the locations. And then if time is not an essence for them, like if they're expansion, then they can give us options and then we'll go from there.
Okay, that was gonna be my question. Do we need to do this right away? So timing's not an issue right now, so we can take our time and vet
I'm
this
gonna
some
say, yeah.
more and,
Yeah.
because I'll tell, so one of the things I worry about, what does this do if, and this is no disrespect to Gandhi and the statue of Gandhi, I understand who he is and what he stood for, so, but if we're accepting a statue from for one person, what if somebody says, well, now I want you to take my statue and find a home for it? So
It's
let's-
good
let's
because
think that through a
that
little
is
bit.
that's almost $80,000 statue, so it's fine, welcome, you know.
Well, I think I understand what Councilmember, or Mayor Pro Tem Johnson is saying. What if the statue was of
Religious.
somebody of ill repute?
Yes. And we don't have a policy, and we're just accepting a statue. Well, now you need to accept my statue. We need to make sure we have something.
Yeah, I meant to say, while they're bringing back options, put a policy in place
That's
too.
right.
That's fine.
That's right.
You know, so that it safeguards what we're doing. Absolutely correct.
We're well
And some-
protected when
I'm sorry.
murals come.
Yeah,
to-
some of those
so-
definitions that you talked about in mural would
Totally. that's-
translate.
Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we can make it more broader than just not murals, so that.
So,
Yes, I don't understand why we would need a policy to just say no. Say no, that doesn't jive with our values.
Where is it written, they
As a
say?
Confederate general. I
So-
mean, why do we have to have a policy in place to just say no?
Do we think that people trying to donate $80,000 statues to the town is going to be a big problem? Like,
I hope not.
I mean, if this thing, it's no offense, it's lovely, but it's not even that big. Like,
I hope
It-
not.
it
but
is
you
big.
live-
It is big. It is big.
It's
It's like almost
It's big.
8 feet, 10 feet.
Guys,
It's 100 inches total.
So-
Yeah, 100.
Don't forget,
Look,
Satish
100
talked about it before.
180.
This state has a really ugly recent history on statues and what to do with them, and that's where my concern is. I don't want to go down that. I don't want to go down that.
Yeah.
But now we're accepting them.
Yeah, I think let staff come back.
well,
Yeah.
well, what is staff going to come back? Are we asking them to have a couple of locations that could
Locations
be
and a
viable?
policy in place.
And a
And a
policy.
policy in place.
And maybe a little bit closer idea of what it would cost
The
to
cost they
actually
have,
set it?
the cost they've already set. I think
Well,
3 or 5 or 7
That's
is minimal.
3 is the moving of it, but the actual
but those are
geotech on those
minimal
different
costs.
locations.
Those are minimal costs. I'm not even worried about that. Like, it's more about the policy and the location. If that we can nail it down, then rest all is not even rounding error. I would put it down.
I'm comfortable having some location options at the next time we hear about this.
Yes, we did.
Well, this was an update from staff, so.
That's a technical.
Please excuse
You have
me.
exceptions.
Okay, so town council gets 5 minutes each, staff gets what they need. Because we
The
did most of
timer
the
doesn't
talking.
work there.
We did most of the talking anyway.
They'll
That's
work
up-
on a
that's up
policy
to
and
us.
come back. Okay.
Okay, the 30-second,
Okay.
or the 30
All right.
30-minute roundtable just
Thank
went
you.
over an hour.
What's next?
It's gone.
118.
We're
Okay.
done.
We're done with the work session?
118.
Okay. I'm going to say some words real quick.
Yes, 78 and 30. So.
Okay, so we have 2 closed sessions this evening to discuss land acquisition and a personnel matter. As we have no plans for additional public business after the closed session, I would like to thank you for watching this meeting of the Morrisville Town Council. We hope you plan to join us again. Please feel free to email your town council members at towncouncil@townofmorrisville.org or visit www.townofmorrisville.org/council for additional contact information. Town manager, anything for the good of the order before we go into closed session? Okay, at this time, I would ask for a motion to enter into closed session. Councilmember Rao?
Mayor and council, pursuant to North Carolina statute 143.318.11A5, And A6, I move that we go into closed session to discuss a real property acquisition matter and a personnel matter.
A motion and a second. All those in favor of entering closed session, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. It is 8:39. We are now in closed session. If you could please clear the room.